100,000 songs are released every day. This is the reason I bang on about bands needing an authentic sound when they produce their music. If you don't, your music's gonna get lost in the ether of the internet. It's one thing to say it, but another thing to do it. So that's what this video is all about. Today, I'm going to show you how to capture the authentic part of your guitar sound. When it comes to rock and metal guitars, we want loud, in-your-face guitar sounds. A great way to achieve that is by using close mic recording techniques. Basically, grab an SM57 and shove it in a speaker. This is great and it works well for an upfront guitar sound, but it has its downsides. Think of it like this. How often have you listened to a song with your ear pressed up against the speaker of a guitar cabinet? If you like your hearing, I wouldn't recommend it. And therein lies the problem. The character of a guitar sound comes from hearing all the speakers within that guitar cabinet, not just one. Also, how that sound interacts within the room. I'm going to show you how you can capture the entire picture from a 4x12 cab so you can record the character and authenticity within your guitar sound. Broadly, there are two different types of mic placement. There's close and then there's distance. The close mics brings your sound up front, while distance captures the character. I'm going to record using both positions and then blend the two together. For this video, I'm going to focus on the distance placement that's going to capture the overall character of this speaker cabinet. For this, we're going to need a few extra things. Firstly, we have duct tape, or you could use chalk because it's purely just for marking a few things out, a measuring tape, and headphones. Noise cancelling if you've got them, but it's not essential. We're going to be recording the Paul Reed Smith MT15 head with the 4x12 Mesa Boggie cabinet. I'm using the U87 from Neumann as my character microphone. Additionally, I'm going to use an SM57 and a C314 from AKG as my close mics, and a Beta 91A I'm going to use as a sub mic. It may or may not make it into the final mix. We'll see how it sounds. This cab has 4 speakers, and there's a sweet spot where all 4 speakers converge. Where that sweet spot is depends on where your speakers are and how loud your amplifier is. I want to place my character mic in the middle of all 4 speakers and then add some distance so I capture all 4 speakers equally. To do that, we have to think about 3 different axes. We have the vertical axis, the horizontal axis, and then the distance axis. This cabinet is actually slanted at the top, so I'm gonna have to compensate for that slant. First thing we need to do is work out exactly where each speaker is in the cabinet. This can be tricky given the covering on the cabinet itself. So let's start with the vertical axis. What we need to do is mark the bottom of the 2 bottom speakers and then mark the top of the top 2 speakers. Then we'll move on to the horizontal axis and we'll mark the outside edges of the left-hand speaker and then the right-hand speaker. Now we've marked out the outer edges of all 4 speakers, I'm going to take a measurement for the vertical and the horizontal axis. For the vertical axis, what we're going to do is we're going to measure from the top of this tape to the top of this tape, and then we're going to take another measurement from the top of this tape to the top of this tape. The reason we do that is that the speakers might be mounted slightly askew, so then we can take an average. What we're also going to do is we're going to take a measurement from the top of this tape down here to the floor so that we know how high the mic stand is going to be set. Then we move on to the horizontal axis. We'll take a measurement from the outside edge of this tape to the outside edge of this tape, and we'll do the same for these bottom speakers as well. And if we need to, we'll take an average. Once we've taken those measurements, we should know exactly where the center of this cabinet is in relation to the speakers. Now that we have our vertical and horizontal axis, we need to work out our distance. To work out the distance axis, you're going to have to use your headphones because you're going to have to hear your character microphone. If you're working with a guitarist, they can play through it if it's not too loud. As a disclaimer, please do not damage your hearing doing this. If it's too loud, what you can do is just use the hum from the amp. If it's not too loud, you can have someone play the guitar, but please do not damage your hearing. This is why isolation headphones or noise cancellation headphones are best. So what we do is we mount the mic using the vertical and the horizontal axis, place the mic close to the cabinet, and then slowly move it away. The further you move the mic back, more of the room will be captured by the mic. Then it's just a matter of adjusting to taste, how much room and how much of the cabinet you want this mic to capture. Let's get this mic'd up and get it recorded so you can hear the end result. At Greenwave Productions, we're all about producing authentic records. If you want an authentic sounding record, you should book a consultation from our website. It's completely free and the link is in the description below. So the guitars are all recorded. Now, they're not mixed, they're not even edited. Literally, we've gone recording straight into the Pro Tools session now. So we're gonna just look at these. We're gonna focus in on the distance mic that we were talking about earlier in the video. As you can see, these, I've highlighted the 4 mics that we've used. We've got this one here is the Neumann. That's the distance mic that we were concentrating on. We've got the Shure 91A, the beta here. That was down at the foot of the cabinet. And then we've got our 2 close mics. We've got the SM57 and the AKG 314. Now, this is a song by My God Machina. To give you a flavor of how this song sounds, it goes something like this. You probably hear this better if you had it on headphones. On the left-hand side, those were the guitars that we recorded. On the right-hand side, I used a Mesa single rectifier, the same cab that we used for this example, but I am using a Big Muff pedal. What we wanted to do is create depth. That was the goal for these guitars. The Neumann in particular, that Neumann's gonna sit in what is the sweet spot of that, not just that cabinet, but the sweet spot of where guitar sounds are, as in within the mids themselves, in the lower mids. That's kind of the goal. That's what we're going for. We wanted to create some difference between the 2 guitar sounds, not just within the amplifiers, not just at source, but within mic placement themselves. So on the right-hand guitar, I've got 2 SM57s and the Beta 91A, just to give that a bit more depth on that side. The idea is the same, but we're adding the Neumann on the left, give it a bit more depth. As the Neumann is our focus on this, this is how the Neumann sounds by itself. Hear a bit of that. As you can hear, it's quite mid-rangey. It's nicely defined. It's a nice picture of the entire cabinet itself. When we add that with the beta, we're getting much more low end on there. Blending those two together is adding a lot of low end, but I'm more centralizing the pan. I've got that at like 30% to the left. That's got it's got a nice depth to that sound. I like that sound. It's good. Okay. And then we've got the close mics. So this one is the SM57. Turn that up a bit so you can hear a bit. So as you can hear, it's much more defined. It's much closer to the speaker, but there's not a lot of depth to it. So what I'm looking for is fine detail from these close mics. So that's the SM57, and then we've got the AKG. This is a 314, and this one sounds a bit like this. So again, it's close, it's defined, and when the two are together, we've got a nice close picture of this guitar sound. Also, what I'm doing is I don't have these two hard panned. I've actually got them. At the moment, I've got the SM57 at around 90 and the AKG around 80. Whether that will happen in the final mix, I don't know, but it sounds really nice as a picture when you put it all together. So all together, it sounds like this. So then we can add in the other guitars. So you can hear how much definition and power that we're getting from those two, literally just those two guitar sounds. As you can see, we're not doing any processing on these guitars. There's no plugins on there at all whatsoever. So this is purely the raw recording. I've got a similar kind of panning on these right-hand guitars as I do on the left. The beta mic, I've got off to 30%. This is two SM57s, so I've got one at 100%. That one was straight on, and then I had another one off axis, just so we don't get phasing problems. I've got that one at 91%. Altogether, we get a big, nice stereo spread sound, especially once we put get the bass in there. And then if we put all the drum, everything together, then we come into the chorus. So that's how we record authentic sound. So when we work with artists here at Green Wave Productions, we're always asking the question of how can we make this authentic to the artist that's coming in? What mic placement can we use? What can we do with the instrumentation? What can we do at sound source? And then what can we do with mic positioning? And then later on, what can we do with the mixing and mastering processes beyond that? If you don't think about it in pre-production and you don't capture it in production, then the chances of you clawing that back in or looking for something in mixing and mastering, it's if you haven't captured it, it's just not going to be there. So it makes sense to sit down, work out what sound you're going for, what makes your sound authentic as an artist, and then either work it out for yourself or work with producers and engineers that are actually willing to sit down with you and work this stuff out. And how we do it with mic positioning and at source and everything else, that's just the first step. The next step is, well, how can we enhance that within the mix, and how can we then enhance it further in the master and get everything up to levels and all that sort of stuff that mastering does. I find this stuff really important to go right from the beginning. To get this experience, you don't have to be local to us here in Brighton or in the UK. We've worked with clients outside of the country. What we do is we go through the pre-production and we send our session notes to whatever studio that band is working in, and then they will do the recording, and then they send us the raw recordings and the files, and then we mix and master from there, and they record to our session notes essentially. Hopefully that gives you a really great idea of how you can use the recording process, particularly in guitars, to capture your authentic sound. Just think a little bit more outside of the box when it comes to mic placement, when it comes to amplifier choice, cabinet choice, guitar choice, even pedal choice and things like that. If you enjoyed this video, why not check out my video on quad tracking guitars? It's awesome and it's right here.